Hi everyone, Mark Sajan again, and today we will take a look at NLA, nonlinear animation. Um, it's a kind of interesting topic. Basically, it's like a clip editor, a motion mixer, combined with a video editor. So the principles are pretty much borrowed from general softwares, video editing, Photoshops, whatever. So you will find a quite interesting mix, but it's really useful. There are a few things that you need to be aware of. But let's just start. Okay, so here's our little squirrel, and right now we just want to go to pose mode and start creating an animation cycle. I have prepared proper cycles for a walk and a jump, but right now, because I haven't made a tutorial about running, I will create a run tutorial and then just jump on how to use the NLA, and I will reload the clips to create a stash and inventory. Okay, now just let me put this in action. So first of all, let me go back to the animation layouts. We don't need that preview, and we need the material preview. So you can also switch from here, hotkey is Z and material preview. And dope sheet is not really my game. I like curve editor the most. So the end, this would be a run on 6. So 13 will require to the full cycle, and just let me zoom in and fit in. Okay, so numpad dot will allow us to fit in, and first of all I will just go to, so by default it's set on 0. Be careful, if you press shift left click left arrow, it will land on the first and the last left and right arrows. Okay, so what about the run? Of course, we want to turn on auto key now and select the leading lag, and the leading lag should be, let me show this. So if you press T, you will see the toolbar inside, and let me put this in forward. Now, it may happen that the animation is set to mirror. So if you open up N, the side panel, this is now set to, yep, in the tool you can turn off axis mirror. So basically this is what we can turn off. Okay, so what, let me put this on front and go to the left view. It's control numpad 3, and this lag will be in front. We also need the other lag, and just G, because I'm in orthographic view, so I can use G easily. There's no, I don't have to be afraid of rotating or moving anything off plan. So now this is the lag behind, and basically we need also to rotate this slightly so the arms are rotated. This would be a very simple run, nothing crazy. This arm should be bent. Okay, so let me bend this. Alright, it's fairly believable. And also we want to select the center of the body, go into front view, and there is a slight rotation. Okay, so the way I rotate it is, if you watch it from the top, this is the hip is actually pointing towards the leading leg. All right, so that is a kind of a rotation that we have. And also we want to make a correction with the tail, so selecting all of these segments, and make sure that you are using individual arches. This is the simple dot key on your keyboard. This is to left from the shift, so if you're using a different type of keyboard, it may be a difference. By the way, there's a little website called Keyboard Tester, so depending on where you are from, you may find it confusing that so many English layouts are there, but many cases those English layouts are simply off. So Keyboard Tester, type it in Google and you will find a great solution to test your keyboard and see if it matches to a American or English layout. Alright, so the head is also a little bit corrected, which was great. Okay, what else do we need? Of course, right now the hips are pretty wide, so if you're looking from the front, this should be a little bit closer, especially when you're running. You're mostly, the higher the speed you have, usually the more in line your legs are. Okay, so that's great, and I will set a key for everything basically. So I will set a highlight and hit I, and make a key for all these stuffs. And right now I want to copy the pose. Maybe this one should be a little bit front. Yep, a little bit more. Okay, and probably a little bit more angle in here because of the running. And just, yeah, the tail should be somewhat in line, because you know, the higher the speed, there's more air drag on the tail like this. So that's kind of explains why the position should be somewhat straight in line. All right, now this one is okay. So let me select A, hit I. If you have any key, all the keys are there. And we are pressing copy, Ctrl C, but be careful, your cursor is in the 3D viewport. So Ctrl C, and at 7, which one is the 6th keyframe from 1? Okay, it may be a little bit confusing, but we're starting from 1 and 7. So when I'm animating on 6, it is actually just 6 keyframes here, but the numbers are one step off. Okay, you can adjust it if you wish, starting from 0 and end is 12. So, but it's up to you. All right, and Ctrl Shift V to paste the opposite way. And yeah, the lines go crazy. To solve that, we should turn on normalize to see the values even. The other thing is that it's a little bit confusing if you see all the handles. We don't care about the handles right now. We're not fine tuning. So if you press Ctrl H, the handles will be gone, and it's much cleaner and easier to digest. The other thing is, if you want to see it in proper way, you just press the numpad dot, and it will zoom in, and it will actually fit the curve amplitude into our little view. So that helps as well. Okay, let me go to the 13 and then pressing Ctrl V. So now we have this kind of a basic running thing. How the things go. Let me play this. I'm using the shift space configuration and not just the space bar, because honestly I don't like when the toolbars are, you know, when the toolbar is opening with the shift space. That's just too much. So many hotkeys are just off. Okay, so that's basically the run we have. And of course we need more inside. So we have a frame. This is our passing frame. This is the full frame. And for that, the main concern here is the leading leg is leaving the floor, and that was just, you know, it's not really beneficial to have. Okay, so Alt R to reset rotation, and I'm not using Alt G because this is already travels. Okay, so I'm going to keep that travel. Let me guys scroll through 3, and I'm pulling it down and looking for the value. And if I'm pressing backspace, it will set it to 0, and I'm pressing I to set the key correctly. Now, when you are pressing backspace, be careful. You may experience that in your case, if you haven't set this in preferences, we are using for keys and key binding and looking for key backspace. So I'll show it all the time, but hey, be careful. This one is default turned on, so all 3 values will reset, but it's just not really a lifelike situation to reset everything all the time. So use it and turn this off, and then you're able, if you're hovering over a track and you press backspace, that will be zeroed out. Okay, just let me undo this. All right, so here's a little bit of a clearance. This is not a down position, and I'm pulling this leg a little bit more to the forward, and that is fine basically. Okay, so what else do we need? We need a down position. So this is num 3, and in num 3 there is a little bit of a move down, and the way I like to do is just move this slightly up, this top part, so the bottom of the body is moving down, but the head is not moving that much. When we are running, basically we are trying to maintain our head at level. So that's one thing. So when it starts, this is a little bit of a down position, so the body is moving down a little bit, but the head is not much. And we have the 4 position, the passing position, and we have the 5th position, which one is the position of the when the things are up in the air. So what I will do, let me undo this. It was a little bit ugly in here, an R. So I want to make sure that everything is nice and clean, and we are just really up in the air. And R. So I'm using G and R in combination because I want to keep a track on how things are looking. And also maybe the tail is a little bit curvy because we are now traveling upwards. And also the body is a little bit higher up, and just moving this one a bit down. So going up in the air, and then just moving forward. Okay, so there's a little bit of a bobbing with the tail, and that's where we are. All right, now let me see what we have in front. This one looks nice. Okay, there we go. Now before I make a copy of various things, I want to adjust the ears as well, because it's just hard to believe that the ears at this speed, these are not animating. So let me go to the first keyframe and just set a standard position for this. So now the ears are in this pose, and I will hit Ctrl C to copy the ears and go to the sum of the keyframe and Ctrl V, because this is just a basic symmetrical thing, and on here as well. So now we have a frame that's basically hold along the overall thing. Okay, so what else? We want to add a little bit of a bob. So when we are at the down position, this is number 3, I will just add a little bit of a bend here. So now it's a little bit bending. When we are up in the air at maybe 6 frames, so it's not exactly, I don't want to confuse some of the things. Maybe at 7, this is going back up a bit, and then we will go from here. Okay, so there's a little bit of a jump up and down. Okay, now how to deal with the rest of the thing. So now we are playing. There's a run, which was great in here, but at this position we still have basically like running in the air. All right, now for that we are copying the frames, and here it is. So let me select everything, or press A to select everything. We can hit the numpad 0, zoom out a bit. Maybe if it's too much for your eyes, you can use the control and middle mouse to set it to a little bit more handy. Let me click away, and basically we want to copy these frames past it with the opposite. So this one, and I'm selecting here, but the cursor is in the 3D viewport, and I'm pressing C, Control C. And I'm going to the 9th keyframe, so two frames away, and Control Shift V, paste it. And going back here, Control C, those keyframes at that position, Control C. And Control Shift V, and then just selecting these, Control C, and Control Shift V. Okay, so this Control C, Control V works in here in the 3D viewport. You do not necessarily have to highlight. I have this habit to select the keys just to make sure that I reinforce what I'm doing. Okay, now let me play this. So the figure is now running. Okay, cute. Now what you may see that there's a little bit of a hiccup here. So what's going on? We can test this. So if you press P, this is kind of a play range. So you can set the zone that you want to actually play. Let me drag this from the first keyframe to the 12th. And now we have this one a little bit masked. So what does it do when you hit play? It will play actually that part of the active segment. This is like a normal cycle of running, because this frame is actually exactly the same as this frame. So we are losing one frame on the whole thing. Let me press Alt P to get rid of this range limit. And to solve this issue, if you have everything polished, you can select all and hit I to make a key for everything, and it will, wherever you are, it will just mark that position. Basically, you're not moving anything. And then you can go in here and hit delete, and boom, there you go. You have the keys, and now this is a normal cycle. So if you set it to 12, you can just place it this way. There's other ways, and you can tweak it in the NLA as well, but this is just a simple way to create something that has a kind of a cycle. Okay, so that is about the running. This was great. I will save it and follow from here. So the file is saved, and what our next task is to actually create an inventory of clips. This is now just one plain animation. We have no stock animation. We have no other animation. We cannot switch between those. So it's time to set up the NLA. Now we are in the animation window, and we can duplicate it right away. I'm happy with the animation window as it is, but I want to make changes, and I need a new workspace for that. Now for that workspace, what I will do is I will go in here and create duplicate current. So the reason I'm duplicating now, because right now we have the animation, and when I make modifications, I will make it on the animation workspace. Double click in here, and it will allow you to rename it, and I will just rename it NLA. And here's the curve editor, which one is a great thing. I will extend this a little bit, so look at my cursor. It's okay, excuse me, that was my fold in here. So, but this is what we do. This should be nonlinear animation. And let me just grab it here. Take another one, tier another one, and that will be graph editor. Graph editor. There we are. Now, we will not use, dope sheet. But basically we will not use dope sheet at all. I'm using action editor instead of that. And also the action editor is good, but most of the time we are not spending here, but let me explain on the go. So first of all, what we have here now, this is our action. This is the automatic name that's generated for any rig action. So that was any rig is the armature, and there's an extension called action. We can rename it here. It doesn't matter too much, but we can rename it here to run, just to make things a little bit more easy. And as I'm renaming it here, we have the NLA editor. Okay, again, so this is the non-linear animation. If you missed the term, non-linear animation, which is basically a motion mixer. So imagine that we have video tracks, and we are mixing clips. That's the idea here. Right now we have an icon here, and this icon is really cool because it represents that we are in kind of a not edit mode. It's like a pending action. This action exists. NLA recognize that, hey, you have an action, you have an animation that you are doing, but it's not really solidified. It's not really in the game. So to make it sure you put it in the game, here's this button, push down action. It's silly to call it push down. It's like accept or fine or done or something, anything than that. But push down is just visual. It's a different cue. But hey, here we have the same thing. So basically, if you don't even have action editor open, you can use this push down, right? The only thing basically why you need action editor is because you want to create a new action. All right. So here, push down, and what happens? This one is this current edited layer. This one turns gray, and now we have a new track. This is a track, and this is a stripe and strip. So basically it is a clip, and we have some clip controls in here. Now this is the running, and as we expect, this running goes on and on, which was a great thing. Now how to add more to the inventory. So we are still in action editor, and as you see, this is our most important button here, and we don't really care too much about. So just hit new. We can go to the frame first. We want to create a new animation. Let me press Ctrl Tab, and it will switch to the normal curve editor. This is what we want to see. And when we activated the whole thing, when we created the new action is already placed on our temporary layer of actions. This is not what we are working with. We have the run track. The run track is active. So what you see here is you are in edit mode. You're ready to animate a new track, but below that, the other layer that you have created in the NLA, that's already playing because it is on. So you can press H, that turns it off. And when it turns off, it will just receive this little frame with this dotted frame. This is the indication of, okay, it's hidden. Okay, so that's what we do. You can do the same thing by turning this off. Here, let me just turn it back on and turn this off. It will give you the same effect, but it will limit the entire track and not just the actual clip. You can basically copy this clip and place it multiple times without any hassle. That's the goal of using the NLA, but we will see it in the second half of the video. All right, now, so basically what we want is we want to create a simple animation for the figure to jump. Now I will make it really rough because the main goal here, I have it prepared. The main goal here is just to see the whole thing, what's going on as fast as possible. So here we are. Let me press Alt-R, Alt-G, everything is reset, and there we go. Now the thing is, I want to start basically just on the third frame. Let me just push this down, and maybe on the fifth frame, this one's stretching out, and we also want to keep this in position on this frame, so I'm using 5 to hold it. We also want to hold these guys to the ground, so from 1 to 5 they're still sticking the ground. I'm hitting I, and maybe at the 9th keyframe everything is reset. So A and Alt-R, Alt-G, and just moving the whole thing up in the air. There we go. So the figure is up in the air. We can play with, you know, the legs, for example. The legs are spread apart. So right now I will just turn on X. We don't want to make it too confusing. So the figure is jumping, maybe the legs a little bit forward. Okay, arms are not animated at all. I don't care about the tail. But let me turn off X. So now the figure is just, there's an anticipation, then it's up in the air. Let me play this. And we want to make sure there's a landing. Press Ctrl H. Don't want to see so many things. And of course we want to land this. Maybe we need more time for the whole thing, so I've extended the timeline and zooming in, and it's up high up in the air at maybe 14. We are reset. Everything is RG R, but because it's a landing, we want to stretch it out. So I'm setting the middle position of the figure, maybe setting this position as well, so the figure is really stretching. Okay, nothing really fancy. That's going up and down, and then we want to have 2 frame away, A, R, G, and just give it a compression. So there we are, and then just that's it. So we have some really rough thing. Okay, so it's great, and maybe at 20 we are setting everything back. So selecting A and Alt-R, Alt-G, and we have kind of a basic thing. So yeah, I'm not worried about the speed. If it's slow, if it's fast, I don't care. The only thing I do care, and don't miss it, is the platform transformation, the root. We want to have that. Let me give it some room and hide away anything rotation and hide away anything scale. And I need the Y location, so let me turn this off, normalize, and hit the button. Okay, so this is really important that you turn on normalize, and on the numpad dot will zoom, and you will see the curves in its more lifelike nature. Okay, so the amplitudes will give you a lot of feedback, and it's great for troubleshooting if you don't understand the movement. If you see it this visually, the peak, it's much easier. So let me select these 2 keys, press V, and set them to vector. So now, right now, the acceleration is much more like, you know, like a jump. Okay, that's it. Good. Now, what else? Let me land back to the action editor. So Control Tab is to action editor, and we can basically push down, and when we push down, it will create a new track. And I haven't renamed it. This was just called action. So Of course, it's nice, but this is really not a telling name. So let me name it to jump, hit enter, and I can now press push down, or I can press push down even here, or I can even stay in the graph editor and just right away use the push down. Okay, so that's it, and then I can turn this on, and we'll follow from here. So whatever you do, when you are creating, when you're working with the NLA, once you have the basic action, that you can just basically, your initial action is pushed down. That's it. Even if you don't see the NLA editor, it will make it work. And then you hit new action, start working, and when you're ready, you can hit push down again, and this is how you feed the inventory of the NLA. All right, now let me load my file, and we can go from there, and I will explain a few things about the NLA and how to create a forward movement and other things. All right, so here we have an inventory of a few clips. So we have a run clip. Let me turn this off. We have a jump clip. Of course, we need more time. Let me add 100 at least. So now we have a jump there. And we have a eddy rig action named track, which one we can rename easily, but this is basically a walk. So now the figure is just walking in place, right? It's fairly slow. We can speed up if we wish, but that's it, how it goes. All right, so I will talk more on this. Now, I was a little sloppy, so the naming in here looks fine, but okay, so how to rename it? If you are selecting a track, let me make this active again. If you are over a track, if you double click, you can rename the track. So that's the run. There we go. The run itself, if you press function key 2, then you're renaming the strip. All right. The strip is actually the clip. Okay, so this one is action. Of course, we want to make it jump. And we have this eddy rig action, which one is just walk, whatever. Can I rename it? It doesn't enable me to rename, but that's it. So here we are. Maybe we can play with this. We can go and set page up to go it higher, and now it enables to rename. Okay, so let me rename it to walk. Now here, what I did is basically, if you have a track selected, you can set page up, and that will walk up. Page down will walk down. If you press shift page up, it will jump to the higher level. If you press shift page down, it will jump to the bottom. So I will, the first thing is, this is the ideal thing that I'm looking for. Honestly, I don't care about the walk right now. I will just turn this off and lock it, and now we have the run and the jump. All right, so basically what we do here is we have the jump on top, and what the idea is, we want to run a little bit, then jump through an obstacle, and then run forward. Okay, now how to do it? So this is what happens. First thing, I've moved away my jump clip, so this should behave actually better. All right, now because we are not animating here in the timeline, let me just resize this a bit and give some more room. Now here it is. What you can do is, now we have two workspaces because we have created the workspace with duplicate current, but you can walk between these two. So if you want to animate and make corrections on an animation, you can use this layout. If you want to animate something, you can use this layout, and you still have the workspace. Now to switch, there is a hotkey built in. It's Control Page Up. It's selecting the next one. Control Page, Control Page Bottom down is going to the next one, and Control Page Up is going to upwards. All right, so Control Page Up is selecting the parent, and Control Page Down is selecting the next in the row. All right, so we can go back and forth between these. Okay, so long story short, once we have it here, this is what happens. The jump remains active, and it holds the first frame, and it holds the last frame. This is because of extrapolation. Put it on hold. If you choose it nothing, then we will see the run. So now the layer is becoming see-through, and run, and then just jump, and then lands, and it run, and it doesn't run. Okay, so what's happening here? Running is, it could be cycled. So this is just one cycle. One strip basically is one cycle, but we have a control in the action clip, and in the action clip you can set repeat to 2. Now what does it mean? And we have now 2 cycles, so it's running, and then it will jump, and then it lands, and here we are. Okay, so what to do now? And we have, with the jump, we have this kind of a lag movement, which was not bad if we are running. So this was animated this way. So when you are creating your inventory, you can think of the various poses you want to go. And if you know that your run and jump and walk is combined, you can set the initial and end poses to look closer and make it closer. We can't blend them, but it helps a lot. Okay, so here we have this little strip, and I can press Shift-D and make a copy of it. And as you see, it's sometimes it doesn't allow you to go right next. So you have to just make this weird walk around, but it works. So now this track contains 2 different clips. Now these two different clips are actually related. They're using the same source, but the setting they have here is could be manipulated differently. So for example, if I want to make this one longer, I can set it to 3, and then this stripe only will be 3. What else? If the speed of the run is too fast, I can slow it down by increasing the playback time. So if I'm setting to 1.5, that is increasing the playback time for each repetition. So now it is slower running. Maybe if we are running up a hill, we can play with that. So that is playback time. If you want, you can animate playback time with the animate strip time, and then you can play with this and speed up the thing and change that. But that's more of a nitty-gritty thing. Okay, now here we are. So this is the basic. This was extrapolation is standard. Then there's a jump, and then we are moving forward. Okay, now how to make it more smooth? To make it more smooth, we are basically using the blend in and out, or you can choose the auto blend. Auto blend is working great. I'm setting this auto blend to and auto blend to. So what it does, it will allow you to create nice transition. Now here's a little bit off. So what I will do, I will just move this and go from there. Okay, so running. There's a little bit of a transition, which one is great. We don't need any more transition there. Here we have this one. And what we can do is, okay, so here's a little bit of an issue. Now the problem with that, it's not matching the whole leg position. Another thing is not matching with the running cycle. So what to do? Now instead of having 3, I will set this to 1. That's fine. And this one will be adjusted. So that adjustment is recording. Okay, so here's this frame start, and this is frame end. We have 12 keyframes. Those 12 keyframes will be used right now from first to the last one. But if we are entering in edit mode, let me press edit mode and use the Control Up to go in here. So now we are in edit mode. Here's the thing, and okay, there we are. Now here are the keyframes. By the way, if you miss the point here, tab is to enter edit. Okay, so edit mode means, okay, I want to edit this particular clip. I want to look what this clip does. And what I just did, I've pressed Control Page Up to move up in the workspaces, and now I see my timeline. but this clip is moved in the 3D space. It's moved away, so this is why it holds in here. It is not starting from 0. Okay, so what we can do with that setting, with this setting, with this frame start setting, is we can clip off an area. We can clip off 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames, whatever, until we are catching a phase, a position of the legs that's matching better with our previous animation. Okay, so let me go back to NLA, and we don't need edit mode in here, just this frame start. And what I will do is, here's this jump, and the jump is landing in here, and we want to make it, okay, so there's this little bit of a pop, and I want to get rid of the pop. So for that, I will start the frame start to maybe 3. Okay, and of course this little thing has become shorter. And now it runs a little bit better. Okay, let me put it on hold and look for if we are running with a different cycle part. No, it's too much. 4. Okay, so what's next? Let me copy this by Shift D and copy it next to. But this one should be the standard. And let me set it to 3. So you can alter to keep one part of the clip, and then the other part is the original one. Okay, so this becomes shorter because we use the frame start option. And as you see, even if it looks like it's one strip, it's not. There's the naming also helps. That this is just a version. Okay, so this is automatically renamed. You don't have to worry about this. All right, so that's kind of a neat thing about the action editor, the NLA editor, that you can fine tune these things. So that's about repetition. That's about playback. That is about how to use the frame start function. Of course, you can use the. We don't need to put it on hold. I like to put everything on nothing if possible. It's just to make it easier. And the banding is set to replace, which means it overwrites all the data. So if you want to make clean work, usually that helps a lot. We have another option. This is called add and combine. So combine, what it does, it tries to combine and match the data a little bit better. And it's good. Not all the cases, but it's good in here, for example. We can make it, we can try to use it with add, and I'm not sure that add is working properly. Add is not really working properly. Some keys are going berserk. Now, what type of keys? Can you see that the scale goes up with 2? And the scale of the root is actually affecting the scale of the other parts as well. So that may be an issue. If you see something like this, usually it's because you have chosen add. But if you choose combine, that's usually a nice blend here. By the way, if you have this add option, you have to look for the keys and delete some of the keys of the scale, for example, regarding to the controller. So in this situation, it is easier and much more simple if we are just stick to normal combine or normal replace. We don't really have to do this anyway if we don't have a pending run below, by the way. Okay, so that's it. And there's this run thing. Now, how to make it run forward? And that is a question, that's a good question. So first of all, we need a new action for this. And that action will affect the position of this little guy. But that is an add type of action. So it will be on the top layer. And now I have 2 generated layers. How to get rid of them? Pressing X will get rid of them. We have no pending action. The walk is turned off. Running is just fine for now. But what I want to do is create a new track for a new action. Now, how to do it? So let me just, right now, because it's much more like editing. I need more space and actually have the action editor here. It's easier, and hit new, and that new will be a going forward, and that going forward, what it does, it will allow us to move this thing in the 3D space. So there we are. Let me turn off these guys, going to the very first keyframe, selecting all, and hit R and G, and now everything is reset. Again, be careful, this is not, I'm not modifying the jump, run, walk, whatever animation. I'm creating a new one, which one starts with everything keyed in a normal way. I want to key the scale as well, so just let me hit I in here. Even if we have this little, even if these are locked, we can create a scale keys as it is. Don't forget about the scale keys. Okay, so that's it. And what else we want to do? We want to actually see the jump and movement. And here it is. Something is off. Okay, so let me go in here. This is combine. Okay, so that can help a lot. This is not set on add, it is set on combine. Add is working with some limb animations, altering an existing movement. But if you are generally moving the figure around, usually it's not all the time the best thing to do. Okay, so first, yep, auto keys on. Let me move this figure forward and see if this whole thing is running. Yeah, we need the first keyframe, so accidentally just thinking too much about other things. So here's the jump thing. Maybe this is the right travel. Oh, it travels a little bit too much. So let me bring it back. Okay, this is fair. Now the figure holds still. We don't want to hold it too long. And actually, then he lifts up. Okay, which was great. But I want to put it on hold here. Now, what I like to do is you can press I if you wish, but I like to do just simply move this little guy. Just a tiny move. That can help a lot. So you can zoom in a little bit of a movement, and that also works. There's a little bit of a stop. We're still progressing in the air. So until he lands, we're still progressing forward in the air. Let me see how much it jumps. Okay, that's just ridiculously small amount of progression. So there we go, and boom. Boom. Okay, and we are holding it for another second. So this is just a tiny move. And then we are running off till 100. So let me see how much we can progress there. Okay, if you want to see more of the grid, we can set the grid scale to 0.1. And now this can help a lot. Or you can use a checker texture, or you can actually measure things around. There's a little bit of a slip, so it's still. Yeah, we don't need that much ahead, but we also need a few corrections, because right now these are just generated keys, but this is done with auto key, and we have acceleration in here. That's really slow. Okay, let me see it in action. So let me go to the animation actually, and see my stuff. There we are, and the zoom in, and as you see, this is where we are. So we have a pause, we have a run, we have a pause, and we have to take care of the curves. So this one and this one, these are all V vector. Basically everything is vector. We don't want to see the strip time, and okay, all the other keys. Oh, actually it doesn't matter if we are setting everything to vector. So now the speed is even. Let me play this. And the other thing is that the distances should be a little bit more, so I'm pressing G and Y. I'm sorry, Z-axis, but it's Y. and increase. Okay, here I'm not totally satisfied with this position. So either it's too early. Let me just check this. So if I'm selecting this G and X axis, if I move it in time and the figure is running already, what happens? Yeah, that's much more fluent. Okay, so that is basically about our run. Now you may ask, okay, now how to turn, how to change directions and other things. That's a little bit of a different pie. Right now this is kind of straightforward. Everybody shows this, that you're just combining animations, but there's no change in direction, there's no more complex, the figure is going up and down. To do that, you may want to create a path constraint, a path follow. But the path follow is a little bit of a pain to work with, but we can combine it fairly easy here. And that will be the next part. So if we play the animation, now this is kind of a straightforward thing, looks fine, and that's it. Now, honestly, this is not really a practical use of NLA. If you can't really control how the figure is moving, it's really hard to get a nice action. So to spice up things and actually change directions and running in different angles, for example, we need to use a path constraint or path follow constraint. Now for that, it's you have to maintain a logic that you're preparing the stuff in the origin of the path follow, and once you have it in the origin, then you place it where you want and make sure that the timing is set correctly, so you can actually transfer from one motion to another type of motion. So, but that's it. This is where you have to use the NLA clips. Okay, so long story short, let me go to object mode and just create a new item. And this is a curve and a path. That's the first thing I need, and I need a Shift E, Empty, and P as plane axis. And this should be, I will switch the look, and this is going with arrows, and maybe about 20 centimeters. Oh, that's fair enough, with 30. So we want to still see it, but don't overwhelmingly large. Okay, so there we are. Now, we want to apply the path constraint to it, but when we apply the path constraint, it will start from here. So it's not really recognizing that the initial starting point of the curve is here. Okay, so it will start from here and going with an offset. Now, to avoid that, let me go with the curve. Select the curve. All the points are there, G, and moving along the x-axis, and I'm moving it here. Now, I was just eyeballing this particular location, but if we want to make it super sure, we can highlight that one. And as you see, my 3D cursor is in the origin, so when I'm pressing Shift S, I can just go to selection to cursor, and it will snap. It's not even visible, but it's now perfectly snapping. Okay, let me leave edit mode. And honestly, I don't care if it's straight. I don't care if it's short. Right now, this is just for assembling the path constraint with a good mechanics. So here it is, and I'm using Shift and selecting the path, and Control P, and go with follow path. So ideally, this is starting from not ideally, but by default, it starts from 0, and it goes in infinite. Okay, so it goes. But that's it. The mechanics is fine. As you see, the point is not changing up, not bouncing away, going off, and actually there is a constraint, and it's there. So what else? What next to do? Few things. If you select the path, then you can have access to the path animation. All right. So the keys are held by the path. And follow, it's good, it's naturally turned on. Clamp is basically what it does. It's if you just move this, it will stop at the end. And now we have 100 frames to travel. So from 0 to 100, it will go through. And as you see, the keying is starting from 1, and from 1 till the end, it will go to 100. All right. So usually, if you have 200 frames here, you have evaluation somewhat the same to match that kind of length. Okay, but it's quite visually quite easy to recap. All right, here we go. Now, what else? This is an automated process. We want to manually do this. We want to manually affect the speed and other things. So for this reason, I will just manage the keys. But before I do that, let me select the guys and transform them in their respective positions. So I'm holding control, and control is just too much, and moving ahead, and I'm looking for the position where I want to move this. All right, so dragging the timeline, here's the figure is jumping and then is running. But then when this jump is happening, I want to switch this stop. So there's a jump, and then I want to switch to this path. Okay, I have used auto key to position this. So what I have to do, I was left it turned on. So when I have to select this, there's this object transform, and I don't want these keys to be visible. So NURBS path, evaluation time, I will turn it off. I don't want to affect that now, but I would definitely want to affect these. So what I will do is selecting these keys and hit delete on these keys. So now there is no change or animation on that, which one is great. And key is turned off. So let me drag this. Actually, where's the right? Here's the curve itself, and just let me move it in the right position. So here's the jump, lands. So I want to still move it a little bit higher, and zooming in and see it for myself, right? So I don't, there is a tiny dot that you may see it, and I'm using the platform as kind of a crosshair thing. So at 40, I can switch to this particular one. Okay, so that will be the goal at 40. So what to manage this, I already have something here. You can see that's already have, and it was set to 39. So at the next frame at 40, I will pause this movement, this forward movement. I will pause this. So what we do need is a key on here, but where we are in animation. Let me go to NLA, and in NLA we are still animating the going forward, which one is great. Then this is the active part, so we can hit I, or yep, I on location. So now we have that. Oh, excuse me, pose mode. So there we are. Now we have the key there, and I want to hold this key, Ctrl C, and hold this key because it's basically yeah, Ctrl V. Okay, so now I'm holding this key, and later on I may want to run again, but right now it's running in place. Okay, that's it. So just for temporary reasons. And from this moment, I want to switch back to object mode and select this guy, and make sure that the whole movement starts at 40. So here we have evaluation time, and let me check this. An evaluation time basically has a modifier, and a modifier it's an exponent, it's a generator. So what does it mean? It's going to go on and on and on and on. It's just an even a simple travel. Now when I'm turning this off, then I will be able to animate the path animation. So this is set to 100, which was okay for me for this length. It's not really a big deal, but there we are. Okay, now to make it more fun, let me start first with keying this and set at 40. I want to set it at 1. So that is the initial position, and I'm hitting on I because I want a key there. All right, so it's not just marking the key, setting the change, hit I to make a change there. Then we are in object mode, but once we are entering in edit mode, we can actually, especially in top view, it's easy because you can just use G and grab. And okay, I definitely want an subdivision here, subdivide, and select this key because you're not starting right away with turning the figure, okay? But because that will be off, so we need this kind of a curve that the figure to accommodate and pick up the thing, and this will be kind of an S shape. So there's figures running left and right, and then it ends. Okay, so it's still nothing super crazy. Okay, so at 40 and maybe at 100, the path should be, let me hit the key at 40, let me check it. So this was, as you see on the screen, I'm matching my original kind of run visually. So that's 40, that was a proper speed, maybe, or not. That is too much. No, not that much, but okay, there we are. So it's this whole point will travel from the 40. I forgot to hit I. So now we have a key. So this is now running, and of course this one is keyed with the Bezier curve, so we can switch to vector to set an even speed. And as you see, it's landing and it starts right away. Okay, now it's time to hook up the things. So now these are moving independently. We are running in place because we are waiting for this connection to pick up. So that's where we are at 49, 40, perfect. So leaving object mode and going in here and going to pose mode and select this guy. And this guy has, we can add bone constraints in here. So there we are. This is the root selected. Add bone constraint, and that will be child off constraint. And we want to pick the target. Now I was sloppy. I was not renaming this, but basically it's just empty. This is the first thing. And this is influence is set to 1. And I'm not animating the influence right now because this is a child object, so it can move freely whenever I wish. And if the parent is moving, then the child will move with it. But if the parent stops moving, I don't have to worry about this whole thing. I can set up as many parents and other things as I want. There won't be conflicts if these are not moving again. If these are moving, constantly moving objects, we are using a generator, modifier, or whatever, then you have to animate the influence as well to make sure that there's no connection, there's no maintained transformation that the figure tries to copy. All right, so what happens here, so as you see now, it jumps, and now we are traveling on the path, okay? So this is much better than just simply going straight, right? So there we are. Let me check this. Jumps, and it's just going there. Now what's the issue? Of course, this one starts running pretty fast. And as you see, what happens from this moment, it's going off tangent. Okay, so because we allowed the child allows to run independently. This is why we have to manage it in the NLA. This is why we have to take care of this. So till this moment, these are running all together. It's nice, and then it goes off. Okay, so what we want basically is that this should go to the end. So what I'm doing now is selecting this guy and deleting that keyframe, and this keyframe is GX, and I'm dragging it to the 100. So now this runs till the end, but it will be a slow pace run for now. And to solve that, we have to select the item. Let me go back to object mode, select it again, and look at the evaluation time, and look what we have at 100. So let me select this little dot and G and X and one off, and look at the evaluation. And evaluation time is set to 40, and I will set it to 100. That means the whole path is consumed. In this case, make sure that we have a key, and of course this should be a kind of a vector key. So now what we have, it's figures running, catching up, running up across the path, and this looks really nice. Okay, now we have a jump here. What happens if you want to make it more interesting? So let me show you a couple of things. This is not really a complex stuff. It will be more and more complex, but basically we have a path constraint, a path flow, then we have a child off bone constraint that's added to the root of the figure, and we're carefully animating the time where this path hookup will happening. So that's, you only have to pay attention to the frames where you're transferring from one motion to another. All right, so to avoid hiccups. But what happens if you want to make it more interesting? So first of all, when we are in edit mode, we can actually tweak these points. So let me show you this. So right now I'm in the middle here, and we have this point selected, and we have this tilt value. So I'm not in animation, so this is kind of an off. And let me set it to 10. You can see this is a slight angle. So you don't really see it, but there's an angle. If you want to make it articulate a little bit more, it's 20. And this is a static value because it belongs to the path. Okay, let me go back to here. This one is also there, and this should be -20 to go to the opposite direction. All right, and yes, if you wish, you can compensate with the figure posture and create a correctional layer of animation. But depending on the situation, usually it's not that big of a deal, especially if you have a figure that's fairly simple. All right, so that's a little bit of a trick. Now the other trick that we can use is we can basically put a jump in this motion. So let me show that how that thing is working. So now we have a straight running, and we can pause the evaluation time. So if we want to hold the figure here, we are actually at maybe 60. So at 60, I want to create a keyframe, and that is a 34, perfect. Hit I, make sure that we have this one, copy this, or just remember the 34 and move it away. And okay, I want to give it a room about maybe 70. So I want to hold it at 70 and setting another keyframe and 34 and hit I, because yes, we want to make sure that this is happening. And there's an ease in, ease out. Which one? Honestly, it's not that bad, but it's too much. So what we have, Control H was turned off. What we can do is basically just pull this in and create a very, very subtle ease. Okay, so it's very, very subtle. It is there, but it's just absolutely nuance. Right, so just grabbing, just eyeballing, nothing crazy. All right, so it's still there. It's not just like a hitting the wall type of stop. It's kind of a normal stop. So we have at 60 and 70. So what else? Let me go to the NLA. I'm using my little trick to switch between the workspaces. So Control and page down. It will land me in the NLA. And the going forward animation is actually pretty good. But when I want, I need another NLA track. So I'm just dropping this now. Push down, so we have this full thing, and here's a jump that we are looking for, and I will copy this jump. So Shift E and move this jump and place it to about this 60 value. So now there is a jump and then just running forward. Okay, so we can start a little bit earlier with the jump, and we can actually speed this up by using the not the frame start but the playback. And if I set it to 1.5, that's actually slowing down, so 1.75. And now this is a little bit faster, so now it's jumping in place. And of course, if you wish, you can play with this. So this is now a jump in place. What to do if we are going with the Let me go back, control page up, and here I see, and you see in the animation layer, I see a different, a selected track that belongs to this. So this is one power to go to the NLA and go to the animation layout, that you can switch between these and not just using tab to enter. Okay, so we want to actually add a little bit of a move. Let me clean this up slightly. So this one should be GX moving up, G and Y. Okay. So there's a little bit of a forward travel. So forward travel along the path, and then there's a jump going on. And of course, we want to just clean this up slightly. Okay, so how it works best. So it runs, and then it's going a little bit, yeah, there's a little bit of a glitch going backwards. So we want to make it smoother. Let me play. Oh, that's fine. And let me just see this, if the figure is running, and then the running seems to be stopping. Okay, let me go to the NLA and see what our run has. Okay, the overall frame for this run seems a bit short. So let me just enter and add more. And this, oh yeah, we have this causes a trouble. We have now something in auto blend, which one is not really what we're looking for, and that auto blend was off because we have just moved it here, and that generated an overlap, and then this is why we had, because of the auto blend, we had that issue. So, but there we are. This is a nice thing that figure runs, and we even have a very beginning. So let me go. So we have a jump at the beginning, then it transfers, and there we go. Okay, we can add more to it by switching to different tracks. And let me show you an example. What happens if you want to attach, for example, the figure is jumping on something, and it's traveling with that jump. Okay, so that would be the next section of it. Now, making another type of connection and movement. So again, the goal here is to stick to something that moves, but not this way, not as a pathway, but something that has an independent animation, like a board or something, anything like that. Okay, let me select these 2 points. We are still in edit mode, and lift them up. The point here is just to show you that this whole thing is working with kind of an elevation. So if we have an action like this, we're changing directions, there's an inserted jump, and there's also a tilt and changing here, which one is cool, I think. So let me leave now and look for the end position. So this is, where's our end position? This is our end position somewhere at 100, but the figure is running a little bit more than 100. So what I will do is this thing should be a little bit ending. So let me type in 2.6 maybe, 2.4, 2.5. That's actually a good. Let me just hold down Shift key and try to match it. So yeah, this is where we are. So now when it stops, yeah, exactly. Okay. So what's next? We can now that this frame is put on hold, but we can link the figure in somewhere. So here's the pose. Let me go to pose mode, select this guy, Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, I'm sorry, go back to pose mode, Shift A, empty plane axis. So now we have a new plane X right at the position of the end at the 100 frame. And that should look like normally the arrows, and this was about 30, so we can still see it. There we are, so 30. We have another point here, and that point, I think it's better if we just don't see that point. NURBS path and empty, so we can turn it off. Here is the other one. And we want to animate this guy. So let me start animation. And first we want to mark these keys. And at 100, it's right in the middle position. And we want to move it away. And slightly, but not at 100 frame, excuse me. So maybe 105. Move it away. And let me go back to the animation layout so we can clearly see this, and hit the dot, Ctrl H to hide away these. So this is a distance. Let me see if, yeah, it's really fast, so we don't need to move that much. Maybe a little bit off. And G and X and move it to the 107, so let me see that. Oh, yeah, it's a decent speed, okay. Now what's next? Selecting this, and at 114 or a little bit more, 120, we're going to the opposite direction, and we basically want to copy back that at somewhere here. Alright, so let me Ctrl V. So it's going, oh yeah, this is a little bit of a fast G speed, so let me play this again. If the play is too much, we can use P and restrict this area and just hit and see. Okay, so it arrives, and then there's this movement, and then we will travel forward. Okay, great. So what else? Now we want to link this little thing, and again, if it's a constant movement, then this should be linked, animated with influence, but right now we just have the bone. We already have a child of bone constraint. We are adding another child of constraint, and basically you can stack up these and just rename this child of or CH, so you can make it shorter. That will help a lot to get the rhythm of placing these controls and constraints. So now we have this one, so the figure is moving with it, and because we made sure that everything stops right there, it moves correctly. And of course, if you have an idle position, you want to use that idle position here. Now I'm not animating that because I just don't want to add more and more time to this video, but basically that's what you do. And once this is going back to the initial pose, and that is when it stops. Let me see when it stops. So selecting this guy, let me leave pose mode, select this guy. So we have a frame at 128, and at 128 I want the NLA to take over. Let me press Alt P, and 128 NLA take over, and a run is performed again. So right now I'm copying this, or yeah, copying this one, and sorry, Shift D, and make that another run on the run track. So 128, and it's running again, going back, and it's running again. And yes, we need to move it forward, and there's a blend in. We have no underlying track again because there's no idle. Ideally, you have an idle here that you can fit the legs, because right now this is how the leg is standing, and then it just starts running. But when it just starts running, then we can go back to the going forward track, for example, and hit tab, and just going back to animation, stop at 128, control page up, and we have now the figure. Going back tab, pose mode. There we are, and we are animating the root. Okay, so take a look at here. So what we have the root and not the rotation, but we have the location tracks. And there we are. Okay, so see it? So these are what we have. And from here, we start with a key. So let me press I to have a key. And then the figure starts moving maybe 160. So we can just travel this and drag it forward. So now there is a little bit of sway with the moving object. So we have an attachment with the moving object. And then we can move forward, and of course you don't want this to be keyed that way, so let me just turn off the NLA strips, turn off the rotations, location may be important, and all these other things. Object transform, we don't care now. This is the actual axis we want to look for, so I'm turning these off, and V and vector, and V and vector, which one is great. So now, and we are running forward. Okay, so let me go to the side, and thank you very much for your attention. I know there is a lot in here because it's the NLA and the usage of it, so that may be a bit of an issue, but this is the only way to really understand and make sure that you can use NLA for your goals. So now we are combining different types of motions, and that helps a lot to create the action feel that you want. All right, thank you very much, and see you next time. Goodbye.